The great hall of Station Kepler 442 buzzed with alien voices speaking in dozens of languages. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked slowly down the center aisle, her black diplomatic uniform standing out against the colorful robes and natural coverings of the galaxy's representatives. Every eye in the massive chamber followed her movement. She had been to this station many times before, but never like this. Today, she was not here to negotiate trade deals or discuss colony rights. Today, she was here to face judgment. The Vorthak, representative, a 7-foot-tall reptilian creature with golden scales, stood up from his seat. His voice echoed through the hall's translation system. Ambassador Chen of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Confederation charged with crimes against galactic peace. Sarah kept her face calm, though her heart was racing. Behind the Vorthak sat hundreds of other beings. The blue-skinned Nexari with their crystal-like hair, the floating gas clouds that were the ethereal collective, the insect-like Cricks with their multiple arms. All of them stared at her with anger or fear. The human species, the Vorthak continued, has shown dangerous aggression in its expansion across the galaxy. In just 50 years, you have claimed over 200 star systems. You have built military bases in sectors that should remain neutral. You refuse to follow galactic law. Sarah wanted to speak, to explain, but she knew it would not help. The truth was too dangerous to tell. The Nexari delegate, a tall female with flowing crystal hair, stood next. Her voice was like singing bells. Earth's colonies spread like a disease across space. Your military ships patrol areas where no threats exist. Your people build weapons and fortresses instead of farms and schools. Why? This was the question Sarah could not answer. Not here. Not to them. The Confederation has made its decision, the Vorthak announced. Effective immediately. All. Trade with Earth is forbidden. No alien ship may visit human space. No human ship may enter Confederation territory. All technology-sharing agreements are ended. All diplomatic relations are cut. The hall erupted in alien voices, some cheering, others arguing. Sarah stood still in the center of it all. She thought about the real reason for humanity's expansion, the secret that made these sanctions feel like a death sentence. You have 6 months to change your ways, the Vorthak said when the noise died down. Submit to Confederation oversight, or face complete isolation. Sarah finally spoke, her voice steady despite everything. The human government will consider your terms. It was a lie, and everyone knew it. Humans did not submit. They never had. 3 hours later, Sarah sat in her small ship, sending an encrypted message back to Earth. The message was simple. The galaxy has made its choice. Activate Protocol 7. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Dr. Elena Vasquez stared at screens filled with data. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but her mind was sharper than any computer. She had been watching the trial through secret channels. They actually did it, she said to her assistant, a young man named David. They cut us off completely. David looked confused. But Dr. Vasquez, won't this force us to abandon the outer perimeter? If we can't get supplies to the monitoring stations? Elena rubbed her temples. She had been afraid of this day for 20 years. Get me Admiral Rivera, Priority 1. 5 minutes later, a hologram of Admiral Marcus Rivera appeared in the room. The Admiral was a tall man with dark skin and serious eyes. His uniform was clean and pressed, but Elena could see the worry in his face. Elena, please tell me you have good news, he said. The sanctions are real, Marcus. Complete isolation. No trade, no contact, no supplies to our outer colonies. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. How long can we maintain the grid? 6 months, maybe 7 if we're lucky. After that? Elena did not finish the sentence. They both knew what would happen. I'll start pulling ships back from the frontier, Rivera said. We'll have to protect the core worlds first. Marcus, you know what that means. If we pull back too far, if the containment grid weakens, I know. His voice was hard. But what choice do we have? We can't let our people starve. After the Admiral's image disappeared, Elena walked to a secure elevator that took her deeper underground. The facility around her was older than most human colonies, built in secret during the early days of Earth's space program. Few people knew it existed. Even fewer knew what it contained. The elevator stopped at level 7, the deepest part of the complex. Elena placed her hand on a scanner and spoke her name clearly. Heavy doors slid open with a soft hiss. The chamber beyond was huge, its walls covered in screens and control panels. In the center of the room was a sphere of strange metal, about the size of a house. It glowed softly with blue light, and the air around it seemed to bend and twist. This was ZEUS, not a person, not a weapon, but something else entirely. Something that had fallen to Earth 32 years ago and changed everything. Elena approached the sphere carefully. Even after all these years, being near ZEUS made her feel dizzy. The entity existed partially outside normal space and time. Its presence affected reality itself. "I know you can hear me," she said softly. "The galaxy has turned against us. They think we're the threat. If only they knew what we're really protecting them from." The sphere pulsed once, as if responding to her words. Elena had never been sure if ZEUS was truly intelligent or just reactive, like a living storm. But sometimes, she felt like it was listening. "We're going to have to pull back our ships," she continued. "The containment grid will weaken. You might start to wake up." Another pulse, brighter this time. Elena stepped back. Far away, on the Vorthak homeworld, strategic analyst Kethmore studied star charts in his private office. Unlike most of his species, Kethmore preferred to work alone, thinking through problems step by step. The human expansion patterns had always bothered him. They made no sense from a military standpoint. Human colonies were scattered across space in what looked like random locations. Many were in systems with no valuable resources. Some were in areas so remote that they served no strategic purpose. But, now looking at the patterns again after the trial, Kethmore noticed something odd. The human colonies were not random at all. They formed a rough sphere around empty space. Every military base, every monitoring station, every fortress pointed inward toward the same region. Kethmore pulled up detailed scans of that region. According to all Confederation records, it was empty. No stars, no planets, no resources. Nothing that would interest anyone. So why were the humans so interested in protecting nothing? He made a note to investigate further. If the sanctions were going to work, the Confederation needed to understand human behavior. And this pattern of expansion was the key to everything. Back on Earth, Elena received the final message from the Confederation Council. The sanctions were official. No alien ship would come to human space. No human ship could leave it. Humanity was alone. Elena looked at the ZEUS containment sphere one more time before leaving the chamber. The blue light seemed dimmer than usual, but that might have been her imagination. "Hold on," she whispered. "Just hold on a little longer." As she walked away, she did not see the sphere pulse again, brighter than before, and she did not hear the soft humming sound that began to echo through the chamber. Deep in its alien dreams, ZEUS was starting to stir. 6 months had passed since the galaxy turned its back on humanity. The sanctions were working exactly as the Confederation had planned. Human outer colonies were running low on food and medicine. Several frontier worlds had sent desperate messages, asking for help. But instead of surrender, the aliens witnessed something they had not expected. On the mining world of New Austin, Colony Administrator Jake Morrison stood before a crowd of 3,000 settlers. The weekly supply ship from Earth was 3 months overdue. The hydroponic farms were failing, and the medical supplies were almost gone. "I won't lie to you," Jake said, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. "Things are bad. Earth can't send help without risking war with the entire galaxy." A woman in the crowd shouted, "So what do we do? Give up?" Jake smiled, and it was not a happy smile. "We're humans. We don't give up. We adapt." Within days, New Austin transformed. The colonists tore apart non-essential buildings to build more hydroponic farms. They recycled everything, wasting nothing. Teams of engineers worked around the clock to repair broken equipment with spare parts from old mining machines. The same thing happened on dozens of human worlds. Instead of breaking under pressure, the colonies grew stronger. They learned to survive on their own, to make do with what they had. The aliens watching from afar were puzzled. This was not how sanctions were supposed to work. On the Nexari homeworld, Council leader Zarath studied reports from the border regions. "The humans are not behaving correctly," she told her advisors. "Their colonies should be collapsing by now." "Perhaps they are stronger than we thought," suggested one advisor. "Or more stubborn," said another. What the Nexari did not see were the secret supply runs. Human smugglers used old mining ships and disguised cargo vessels to move food and medicine between colonies. They flew dangerous routes through asteroid fields and nebulas, avoiding Confederation patrols. Captain Lisa Park was one of these smugglers. Her ship, the Lucky Strike, was old and ugly, but it was fast and hard to detect. She had been running supplies to the outer colonies for 3 months. "Approaching New Helsinki," her co-pilot announced. "Confederation patrol ship detected at the edge of the system." Lisa smiled. "Let them come. We'll be gone before they know we were here." The Lucky Strike dropped out of faster-than-light travel near New Helsinki's moon, quickly downloaded supply pods to the colony, and jumped away again. The whole operation took less than 10 minutes. But the real mystery was the military situation. Admiral Rivera had been forced to pull many ships back to protect the core worlds, but some human vessels continued their strange patrol patterns. They flew back and forth through empty space, as if guarding something that was not there. Kethmore, the Vorthak analyst, had been studying these patterns for months. The more he learned, the more confused he became. Human ships were clearly protecting a specific region of space, but his scans showed nothing unusual about that area. He decided to investigate personally. Kethmore took a small scout ship and flew to the edge of the protected region. According to his instruments, space here was completely normal. No energy signatures, no gravitational anomalies, no signs of hidden bases or weapons. But something felt wrong. As his ship drifted closer to the center of the region, Kethmore began to feel dizzy. His instruments started showing strange readings, then returned to normal. The feeling passed after a few minutes, but it left him deeply unsettled. He made detailed notes and returned to the Vorthak homeworld, but he told no one about his discovery. Not yet. Meanwhile, on Luna, Dr. Elena Vasquez was facing her worst nightmare. The containment grid around ZEUS was failing. "Perimeter Station 17 has gone dark," her assistant David reported. "That's the 3rd one this week." Elena stared at the holographic display showing the containment network. Red dots marked the stations that had lost contact. Too many red dots. "How long before we lose containment completely?" she asked. David's face was pale. "At this rate? Maybe 2 months." Elena felt sick. ZEUS had been dormant for over 30 years, contained by a network of monitoring stations and energy dampeners, spread across dozens of star systems. But the sanctions meant they could not maintain those stations. One by one, they were failing. "Get me Admiral Rivera," she said. When the Admiral's hologram appeared, he looked tired. The stress of managing. The crisis was wearing on everyone. "Elena, please tell me you have good news," he said, using the same words as 6 months ago. "Marcus, We're losing containment. The grid is failing faster than we expected. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. How bad is it? Bad. ZEUS is starting to respond to the weakened barriers. We're detecting energy fluctuations near the core containment zone. If this continues, ZEUS might wake up completely, Rivera finished. And then the galaxy will have a real problem. We need to tell the Confederation Council, Elena said. Make them understand what we're protecting them from. They won't believe us. They think this is all a trick to get them to lift the sanctions. Elena knew he was right. How could they explain that humanity had been secretly guarding a cosmic entity capable of reshaping reality? It sounded like something from a bad science fiction movie. There's something else, Elena said reluctantly. I've been monitoring ZEUS directly. It's not just responding to the weakened containment. It's curious, like it's trying to understand what's happening. The Admiral's expression grew even more serious. You think it might be becoming conscious again? I don't know, but if it is, we need to be ready. After ending the call, Elena returned to the containment chamber. The ZEUS sphere was definitely brighter now, pulsing with blue light every few seconds. The air around it shimmered like heat waves. She approached the sphere carefully. I know you're in there, she said softly. I know you can probably understand me. The people who built your cage are being punished by others who don't know about you. Soon, your cage might break. The sphere pulsed brighter, and for a moment, Elena thought she heard something like a voice in the back of her mind. Not words, exactly, but a feeling. Curiosity, interest, and something else. Gratitude. Far away in space, near the edge of the containment zone, something impossible happened. A merchant ship from the Ethereal Collective was taking a shortcut through what they thought was empty space. The ship's captain, a being of living gas named Whisper of Stars, was trying to make up for lost time. These coordinates should be safe, Whisper of Stars told his crew. No human ships have been detected in this region, but as they flew deeper into the zone, their instruments began to malfunction. Reality itself seemed to bend around their ship. The stars looked wrong, twisted into impossible shapes. Captain, one crew member said in a panicked voice, our faster-than-light drive is not responding. And, Captain, look at your hands. Whisper of Stars looked down and gasped. His gaseous form was becoming solid, taking on a strange new shape. Around him, his crew was changing too, their bodies shifting into something, alien and beautiful and terrifying. Send a distress signal, he managed to say before his vocal cords changed into something else entirely. The signal reached Confederation space 3 hours later. It was not words or data, but pure emotion transmitted across subspace. Terror, wonder, transformation, then silence. The Confederation Council received the report the next day, but they dismissed it as human trickery. Obviously, this was some kind of weapon designed to make them afraid. The sanctions would continue. But Kethmore, reading the report in his private office, remembered the strange feeling he had experienced near that region of space. The dizziness, the instrument malfunctions. He pulled up his star charts again, marking the location where the ethereal ship had disappeared. It was exactly in the center of the region that humans seemed so interested in protecting. For the first time, Kethmore began to wonder if the humans were not the threat the galaxy should be worried about. On Luna, Dr. Elena Vasquez received an automated alert from the containment system. Energy levels around ZEUS had spiked dramatically when the ethereal ship disappeared. She ran to the containment chamber and found the sphere blazing with blue light. The air around it crackled with energy, and her instruments were going crazy. What did you do? She whispered. The sphere pulsed once, and Elena felt that voice-like feeling in her mind again. This time, it was clearer, almost like words. Waking. Elena stepped back, her heart racing. After 30 years of silence, ZEUS was starting to communicate. And That could only mean one thing. The entity was becoming fully conscious again. The galaxy's worst nightmare was about to come true. The first sign that something was terribly wrong came from the Krix border worlds. Their insect-like inhabitants lived in great hive cities, perfectly organized and efficient. But now, reports were coming in that made no sense. Queen Mother ZEUS read the messages with growing alarm. "The suns are flickering," she announced to her council. 7 different star systems report the same thing. The stars grow dim for a few seconds, then return to normal. "Perhaps it is natural solar activity," suggested one of her advisors. "All 7 stars at the same time?" ZEUS's mandibles clicked with irritation. This is not natural. What she did not know was that these were the star systems closest to the region of space that humans had been protecting, the region where ZEUS was waking up. On Luna, Dr. Elena Vasquez had not slept in 3 days. The containment facility was in chaos. Alarms blared constantly as the monitoring systems struggled to measure energy levels that kept changing. ZEUS was no longer just a glowing sphere. The entity had begun to extend itself beyond its physical prison, reaching out with invisible fingers of force that could bend space and time. The effects were spreading farther every day. "Report," Elena demanded as she entered the main control room. David, her assistant, looked exhausted. "Containment grid is down to 30%. We've lost contact with 15 more monitoring stations. And Dr. Vasquez? We're detecting gravitational anomalies in nearby star systems." Elena's heart sank. Gravitational anomalies meant ZEUS was affecting the fundamental forces of reality. If this continued, entire solar systems could be torn apart. Any word from Admiral Rivera? "He's trying to reposition our remaining ships, but it's not enough. We simply don't have the resources to maintain containment while under sanctions." Elena walked to the sealed window that looked into the containment chamber. ZEUS blazed with light now, so bright it hurt to look at directly. The sphere that had contained it for 30 years was cracking, lines of brilliant energy leaking through. She put her hand on the communication panel. "ZEUS, can you hear me?" The response came immediately, not as words but as thoughts planted directly in her mind. "Elena. Protector friend. The small thinkers have made error." Elena gasped. ZEUS knew her name. It had been watching, listening, learning all these years. "Please," she said aloud. "You have to understand. We're trying to protect both you and the galaxy, but our people are suffering. The other species have cut us off because they fear us." "They fear wrong thing," came the reply. "They should fear awakening. But awakening comes because they made barriers weak. Can you help us stop the damage? Control your power?" The chamber filled with a sound like cosmic wind. "Power seeks expression. Been contained too long, but we'll try. For protector friends." Elena felt a mixture of relief and terror. ZEUS was trying to contain itself, but its power was vast beyond imagination. Even its attempts at restraint were causing reality to bend. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the effects of ZEUS's awakening were becoming impossible to ignore. The Nexari homeworld experienced temporal distortions. For 3 hours, time moved backward in the capital city. Citizens watched their morning coffee flow upward from their cups back into the pot. Children became confused as they remembered things that had not happened yet, on the gas giant homes. Of the ethereal collective, the atmosphere itself began to sing. Beautiful, haunting melodies echoed through the clouds, but no one knew what was causing them. The proud Vorthak Empire reported that their most advanced computers had begun solving mathematical problems that their creators did not understand. The machines spoke of equations that described the universe in ways that hurt to think about. Emergency sessions were called on every major world. Scientists and leaders tried to understand what was happening, but they had no explanation. Except for one person, Kethmore, The Vorthak analyst who had been studying human behavior requested an urgent meeting with the Confederation Council. He arrived at Station Kepler 442 carrying a case full of data chips and star charts. "Honored Council," he began, standing before the same assembly that had condemned humanity. "I believe we have made a terrible mistake," the lead Vorthak representative hissed with displeasure. "Analyst Kethmore, this is not the time for theories. The galaxy is experiencing unprecedented phenomena. We need solutions, not speculation." "That is exactly what I am offering," Kethmore replied firmly. "I have spent months studying human expansion patterns. They are not random. They are not aggressive. They form a perfect containment sphere around a specific region of space." He activated a holographic projector, showing the galaxy with human colonies marked in blue. The pattern was obvious once you knew to look for it. Every human military base, every monitoring station, every defensive platform points inward toward this region, Kethmore continued. And this region is where the current phenomena began. The Nexari delegate, Zarath, studied the display. "You suggest the humans are protecting something, rather than conquering?" "I suggest the humans are protecting us," Kethmore said, "from something in that region. Something powerful enough to cause stars to flicker and time to flow backward." A murmur of disbelief ran through the assembly. The idea that humanity might be protecting the galaxy rather than threatening it was almost impossible to accept. "Even if this were true," the Vorthak representative said, "why would they not simply tell us?" Kethmore looked at the assembled aliens. "Would you have believed them?" The chamber fell silent. On Earth, Admiral Rivera was fighting a losing battle. With most of his fleet pulled back to protect human worlds, the containment grid was collapsing faster than ever. His remaining ships were stretched impossibly thin. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from Station Kepler 442. It's the Confederation Council. They want to speak with you." Rivera raised an eyebrow. After 8 months of complete silence, now they wanted to talk? Put them through. The holographic image that appeared showed the same aliens who had condemned humanity to isolation, but now they looked frightened. The lead Vorthak spoke first. "Admiral Rivera, we may have been hasty in our judgment. We are experiencing phenomena that we cannot explain. Our analyst suggests these events may be connected to your activities in Sector 7 Alpha." Rivera kept his expression neutral. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Admiral," the Nexari delegate interjected, "please. Our people are afraid. Time itself is becoming unstable. If you know what is causing this." Rivera looked at these beings who had tried to destroy his people through starvation and isolation. Part of him wanted to let them suffer, but that was not the human way. "I need to speak with my superiors," he said finally. "But if we are to discuss this matter, the sanctions must be lifted immediately. My people are dying while you debate." The council exchanged glances. They had spent months convincing their populations that humans were dangerous. Now they needed those same humans to save them. "The sanctions will be suspended pending these discussions," the Vorthak representative agreed reluctantly. Back on Luna, Elena felt ZEUS's presence growing stronger every hour. The entity was trying to contain itself, but its power kept leaking out in dangerous ways. She knew they were running out of time. "David," she called, "prepare the deep communication array. Full power." "Dr. Vasquez, are you sure? That much energy focused through the array could let me speak directly with ZEUS. Not just surface thoughts, but real communication." Elena's face was pale but determined. "It's the only way to understand what we're dealing with." The deep communication array was an experimental device that could link human consciousness directly with alien intelligence. It had never been tested on something like ZEUS, and the risks were enormous. Elena sat in the communication chair as David activated the array. Energy flowed through her mind, connecting her thoughts to the vast intelligence that was ZEUS. Suddenly, she was no longer in the Luna facility. She floated in a space between dimensions, surrounded by swirling colors and impossible geometries. Before her was a being of pure energy and thought, beautiful and terrible beyond description. Elena Protector, ZEUS spoke without words. "You come to the deep place, dangerous for small mind." "I had to understand," Elena replied with her thoughts. "The galaxy is in danger. You're too powerful. Your awakening is tearing reality apart." Truth words. Power seeks expression after long sleep. But control is difficult. Reality bends when consciousness expands. Elena felt the vast loneliness of the entity. It had been alone in its prison for so long with only humans to watch over it. Now, as it awakened, its very existence threatened the galaxy it had no wish to harm. "There is way," ZEUS continued. "Power can be contained by willing sacrifice. One species must accept burden of eternal watching, prison keepers who understand price." "What kind of sacrifice?" "Freedom sacrifice. Growth sacrifice. The watchers must stay always near, never expanding far into galaxy. Must choose duty over dreams." Elena understood. Someone had to give up their future to keep ZEUS contained. Someone had to accept the role of eternal guardians. And if no one accepts? The space around them grew dark. Then awakening continues. Reality breaks. All suffer. Elena closed her eyes. Though in this place between dimensions, it made no difference. "I know what humanity's answer will be," she said quietly. The word "yes" echoed across human space like a rallying cry. From the mining colonies on the frontier to the great cities of Earth, humanity had made its choice. They would accept the burden of guarding ZEUS, even if it meant giving up their dreams of expansion across the galaxy. But ZEUS was not content to simply accept their sacrifice. "No," the entity's voice thundered through Elena's mind as she floated in the space between dimensions. "Humans choose too quickly. Do not understand full price." Elena felt the weight of ZEUS's ancient intelligence pressing against her thoughts. The entity had existed since before Earth's sun was born, had seen civilizations rise and fall across the cosmos. It understood sacrifice in ways humans could not imagine. "Show me," Elena thought back. "Show me what it really means." The space around them changed. Elena found herself standing on a human colony world, but it was different somehow. The cities were smaller, more focused. The people moved with purpose, but also with sadness in their eyes. Above them, the sky was filled with monitoring stations and defensive platforms. "This is future if humans accept burden," ZEUS explained. "No more expansion beyond the Watcher's sphere. No more dreams of distant stars. Children born to guard what parents guarded. Generation after generation, bound to single purpose." Elena saw it all. Human civilization turning inward, becoming smaller, more isolated. Not because of alien sanctions this time, but because of their own choice to be guardians. "And if we refuse?" she asked. The vision changed. Now she saw the galaxy burning. Stars exploded or simply vanished as reality itself came apart. Alien civilizations fled in terror from regions where space and time no longer worked properly. The beautiful tapestry of galactic civilization unraveled like a broken web. "This is future if power remains uncontained," ZEUS said sadly. "Not desired outcome, but power seeks expression. Cannot be stopped without willing guardians." Elena felt tears on her face, though she was not sure if they were real or part of the vision. The choice was impossible. Save the galaxy by condemning humanity to eternal service, or refuse and watch everything burn. But then she felt something else, other minds touching hers through the communication array. Admiral Rivera, Dr. David from the Luna facility, voices from across human space. "We heard," came Admiral Rivera's thoughts. "We all heard. And our answer is still yes." "Why?" ZEUS asked, genuinely puzzled. Small species has so much potential, could spread across galaxy, build great things. Why choose small cage? The answer came not from Elena, but from a colonial farmer on New Austin. Because protecting others is what makes us human. A smuggler captain added, "We've been doing this job for 30 years already. We'll keep doing it. A child from the Mars colonies. My grandpa was a soldier. He said duty isn't about what you want. It's about what needs doing." The voices multiplied. Millions of humans speaking as one. This is who we are. ZEUS fell silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its mental voice carried something Elena had never heard before. Respect. Very well. But if humans choose this path, they will not walk it alone. Power has been contained before, will be contained again. But container must be strong, must have help. What kind of help? Elena asked. Other species must contribute, not guardianship. That burden is humans by choice. But technology, resources, support. Prison must be built by many hands. Elena felt hope rising in her chest. Maybe there was a way to make this work without destroying humanity's future. The deep communication ended abruptly, and Elena found herself back in the Luna facility. David was shaking her shoulder, his face pale with worry. "Dr. Vasquez, you've been under for 6 hours. We were losing your vital signs." Elena sat up slowly, her mind still reeling from the experience. "Get me Admiral Rivera, and get me the Confederation Council, too. It's time to tell them everything." 2 hours. Later, the communication room at Luna facility was crowded with holographic images. Admiral Rivera appeared from his flagship. The Confederation Council connected from Station Kepler 442. Even some individual world leaders had joined the call. Elena stood before them all, looking tired but determined. "I'm going to tell you a story," she began, "about a day 32. Years ago, when something fell from space into our solar system." She told them everything. How ZEUS had arrived, already dormant but containing power that could reshape reality. How human scientists had learned to contain it. How Earth's expansion had been designed to build a prison of monitoring stations and energy dampeners. "For 30 years, Elena continued, humanity has served as ZEUS's guardians. We built our colonies in a protective pattern. We stationed our fleets to maintain containment. We never told you because we knew you would either try to take control or panic and make things worse." The alien delegates listened in stunned silence. The Vorthak representative finally spoke. "You are saying that everything we thought we knew about human expansion was wrong?" "Completely wrong," Admiral Rivera confirmed. "We weren't conquering territory. We were building the largest containment facility in galactic history." "And the current phenomena?" asked the Nexari delegate. "ZEUS is waking up because the sanctions forced us to weaken the containment grid," Elena explained. "We can't maintain the monitoring stations without supplies. Our ships are pulled back to protect human worlds instead of maintaining the perimeter." Kethmore, the Vorthak analyst who had first suspected the truth, leaned forward. "What do you need from us?" Elena looked at the assembled aliens. These beings had tried to destroy humanity through isolation. Now she was asking for their help. ZEUS has agreed to remain contained, but only if the prison is rebuilt properly. That means contributions from across the galaxy. Technology, resources, personnel. This can't be just a human project anymore. "And in return?" asked the Nexari delegate. "Humanity accepts permanent guardianship. We'll limit our expansion to the containment sphere. Our children and our children's children will be born to this duty. It's the price of keeping ZEUS asleep." The alien delegates exchanged glances. They were being asked to help the very species they had been trying to punish. "This is a considerable revelation," the lead Vorthak said carefully. We will need time to discuss it with our respective governments. Time is something we don't have much of, Admiral Rivera warned. ZEUS's awakening is accelerating. The longer we wait, the harder it becomes to contain. As if to emphasize his point, alarms began blaring in the Luna facility. David ran to Elena's side, his face pale. Dr. Vasquez, we're reading massive energy spikes. Something's happening in the containment chamber. Elena rushed to the observation window and gasped. The ZEUS sphere was no longer cracking. It was melting, the strange metal flowing like liquid as the entity's power overwhelmed its physical prison. But the blue light was different now. Instead of the wild, chaotic energy of before, it pulsed in steady, controlled rhythms. ZEUS was doing something. Elena ran to the communication panel. ZEUS, what's happening? The response came immediately. Showing truth. Galaxy minds need to. See? Suddenly, every screen in the communication room displayed the same image, the view from space above ZEUS's location. But now the containment grid was visible, thousands of monitoring stations and energy dampeners connected by streams of blue light. The pattern was beautiful and complex, a work of art created by human engineering and alien physics working in harmony. By the sacred crystals, whispered the Nexari delegate. It's magnificent. The image changed, showing what would happen if the grid failed completely. The blue light spread outward like a virus, consuming star systems and leaving empty space where reality had been torn apart. Then the image showed the solution. The containment grid rebuilt and strengthened, with contributions from dozens of species. Human ships at the center, but supported by Nexari psionic amplifiers, Vorthak reality. Stabilizers, ethereal dimensional anchors, a galactic project to contain a galactic threat. This is what must be built, Elena explained. Not just human technology, but the best that every species can offer. The ethereal collective delegate, a being of living gas named Harmony of Thoughts, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. The energy being shows us true sight. This is necessity, not choice. But the cost, the Vorthak representative protested. The resources required would be enormous. Compared to the cost of galactic annihilation? Admiral Rivera asked dryly. Queen Mother Zaxth of the Crix suddenly joined the conversation, her insect-like form appearing in hologram. The Crix hives pledge support. Our worlds have felt the reality distortions. We will contribute construction drones and manufacturing capability. One by one, other species began to pledge support. The Nexari offered their crystal technology. The ethereal collective promised dimensional expertise. Even smaller civilizations volunteered what they could, but the Vorthak, the most powerful military force in the galaxy, remained silent. Finally, their representative spoke. The Vorthak. Empire requires guarantees. How do we know humanity will not use this entity as a weapon? Elena looked at the alien with infinite patience. Because if we wanted to use ZEUS as a weapon, we would have done it already. Instead, we've spent 30 years keeping it asleep. And we'll spend the next 300 years doing the same thing, Admiral Rivera added. That's the human contribution to this project. Eternal vigilance. The Vorthak delegate considered this. Around him, the other species. 3 months later, the greatest construction project in galactic history was taking shape. From Elena's observation deck on Luna, she could see ships from dozens of species working together in ways that had never happened before. Crix construction. Drones, looking like metallic insects the size of buildings, assembled massive framework structures in space. Nexari crystal singers used their psychic abilities to grow living computers that could process reality fluctuations. Ethereal collective engineers, beings of pure gas working through mechanical suits, installed dimensional anchors that kept space itself stable. And everywhere, human ships coordinated the effort, not commanding but serving as the connecting tissue that held the project together. Status report. Elena asked David, who had become the project's main coordinator. Containment grid is at 60% strength and climbing, he reported. Exhaustion, clear in his voice. The new monitoring stations are coming online faster than we hoped. The Vorthak reality stabilizers are working perfectly with our dampening fields. Elena nodded, but her attention was focused on the containment chamber. ZEUS had been remarkably cooperative during the construction, keeping its power levels low and stable, but she could feel its presence growing stronger as the entity became more fully conscious. "Any word from the diplomatic front?" she asked. David smiled. "Actually, yes. Ambassador Chen is having remarkable success. The Galactic Charter for Cosmic Security passed the Confederation Council with an overwhelming majority." Elena raised an eyebrow. The charter was humanity's proposal for a new kind of galactic cooperation, not just for the ZEUS project, but for handling other cosmic threats that might arise in the future. Even the Vorthak voted for it? Especially the Vorthak. Turns out once you show people that reality itself can be threatened, they become very interested in working together. The charter was more than just a document. It established humanity as the galaxy's official guardians of cosmic phenomena, with other species providing support and oversight. In return, humans would limit their expansion and focus on protection rather than conquest. It was not the future humanity had dreamed of, but it was a future they could be proud of. Admiral Rivera's voice came over the communication system. "Dr. Vasquez, we have a situation developing near Containment Station Alpha 7. Elena hurried to the main control room, where screens showed data from the new monitoring network. One of the stations, positioned at the edge of the containment grid, was reporting unusual readings. "What am I looking at?" Elena asked. "Unknown contact approaching the perimeter," Admiral Rivera reported. "It's big, and it's moving in a way that suggests intelligence." Elena's heart sank. ZEUS was not the only cosmic entity in the universe. The fear that had always haunted the project was that other beings like ZEUS might be drawn to the awakening. Size and composition, roughly the size of a moon, composed of what appears to be crystallized energy. It's beautiful, actually, and it's trying to communicate. Elena made a decision that would have been impossible 6 months ago. "Patch me through to the Confederation Council. All species representatives." Within minutes, the command center was filled with holographic images of alien leaders. The same beings who had once tried to destroy humanity through sanctions now looked to them for guidance in dealing with cosmic threats. "Honored representatives," Elena began, "we have an unknown entity approaching the ZEUS containment zone. This is exactly the kind of situation the charter was designed to handle." The Nexari delegate, Zarath, leaned forward. "Do you believe it poses a threat?" "Unknown. But we need to respond as a unified galaxy, not as separate species." Kethmore, who had been promoted to the Vorthak's chief xenological advisor, studied the data. The communication attempts, they appeared to be mathematical in nature. Prime numbers, geometric sequences, classic first contact protocols. "First contact with what?" asked the ethereal representative. Elena walked to the communication panel that connected her to ZEUS. Over the months, the entity had become easier to communicate with, almost like it was learning to speak in ways smaller minds could understand. "ZEUS, can you sense this new arrival?" The response came immediately, but not in the usual mental voice. This time, ZEUS spoke through the facility's speakers, its words audible to everyone in the room. "Sister entity approaches. Old friend from deep cosmos. She seeks understanding of new awakening." The aliens exchanged worried glances. Another being like ZEUS was exactly what they had all feared. "Is she dangerous?" Elena asked. "Power level similar to self, but purpose different. She is curious, desires learning, not destruction." Admiral Rivera's voice crackled over the communication. "The entity has stopped at the perimeter. It's not trying to enter the containment zone. It's just waiting." Elena made another decision that surprised everyone, including herself. I'm going out there to meet it. Absolutely not, Admiral Rivera said immediately. The risk is too great. Admiral, I've been talking to ZEUS for months. I understand these entities better than anyone. And if we're going to be the galaxy's guardians of cosmic phenomena, I need to learn how to do this job properly. The debate that followed involved everyone from human military commanders to alien philosophers. But in the end, the decision was Elena's to make. She was officially the galaxy's chief guardian of cosmic entities. The ship that took her to meet the new arrival was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Human navigation systems guided by Nexari psychic enhancement, Vorthak hull plating that could withstand reality distortions. Ethereal life support that adapted to impossible environments. As they approached the entity, Elena gasped at its beauty. The being was indeed the size of a small moon, but it looked like a living crystal sculpture. Geometric patterns flowed across its surface in hypnotic spirals of color and light. "Open a communication channel," Elena ordered. The response came. Immediately, not in words but in pure mathematics, transmitted directly to their computer systems. The equations were beautiful, describing relationships between energy and consciousness that human science was only beginning to understand. Elena activated the deep communication array, the same system she had used to speak with ZEUS. Her consciousness reached out toward the crystal entity. The contact was gentler than her first communication with ZEUS. Instead of the overwhelming presence of ancient power, this entity felt curious and patient, like a cosmic scientist examining an interesting discovery. "Greetings, small guardian," came the entity's mental voice. It sounded female, though Elena knew such concepts probably meant nothing to a being of living energy. "I am called Harmony in your conceptual framework. I sense my brother entity ZEUS in this region." "Yes," Elena replied carefully. "ZEUS is contained here. We are its guardians." "Contained?" Harmony's thought carried surprise and something that might have been amusement. "How curious. ZEUS allows this? ZEUS cooperates because we protect both it and the galaxy from the dangers of uncontrolled awakening." Elena felt Harmony's attention focus on her more intensely. "Show me this protection." Elena opened her mind, sharing the history of the last 30 years, the discovery of ZEUS, the building of the containment grid, the sanctions and their consequences, the awakening and the new cooperation between species. Harmony absorbed it all in seconds. Fascinating. Small species learn to guard large power. Most civilizations try to use or destroy such power. You choose different path. We chose the path that protects everyone. Yes, I see this truth. ZEUS chose well. In its guardians, the communication was interrupted by Admiral Rivera's voice. "Dr. Vasquez, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Other entities are approaching. At least 6 more, maybe more." Elena felt her heart racing. "Harmony, are these friends of yours?" Word spreads through deep cosmos when consciousness awakens. Others come to investigate, some curious like self, others less peaceful. "What do you mean?" Harmony's mental voice grew serious. Some entities view smaller species as threats to be eliminated. Others see opportunities for control. If they learn of ZEUS's awakening and your guardianship arrangement, Elena understood immediately. The galaxy had barely managed to contain one cosmic entity. Now more were coming, and not all of them would be as cooperative as ZEUS and Harmony. "Admiral," Elena called over the communication, "we need an emergency session of the Council, highest priority." The meeting that followed would later be called the most important in galactic history. Representatives from every species gathered virtually as Elena described the new threat. "We're facing a cosmic migration," she explained. "ZEUS's awakening has attracted other entities. Some are peaceful, but others may view our civilizations as obstacles to be removed. The Vorthak representative looked grim. How many are we talking about? Unknown. Harmony suggests the number could be significant. And our current containment technology? Asked the Nexari delegate. Designed for one entity with decades of preparation. We can't possibly build containment for dozens of cosmic beings. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They had spent months building a solution for ZEUS, only to discover that the problem was much larger than they had imagined. It was Kethmore who spoke first. Then we don't contain them. We negotiate. Elena looked at the Vorthak analyst with new respect. Explain.